All right, let's talk about biodiesel. You probably think you know what it is, but it turns out it has a secret identity that's way more interesting than just being a fuel. So, quick question for you. When I say the word biodiesel, what's the very first image that pops into your head? For most of us, I'm guessing it's something pretty specific. Yeah, you're probably picturing green energy, maybe a big city bus with powered by biodiesel on the side. And look, you're not wrong. But that's only scratching the surface. The truth is, the most surprising things biodiesel can do have absolutely nothing to do with an engine. It and its byproducts are hiding in plain sight, in places you'd never, ever expect. So let's dive into our first big surprise. Forget the fuel tank for a minute, and let's head over to a factory floor. You see, in any kind of metalworking, after you cut or grind a part, it's a mess. It's covered in waste oil, coolant, little bits of metal dust. It needs a serious cleaning. And for decades, the go-to solution has been pretty harsh, petroleum-based solvents, like regular old diesel. But here's the thing, biodiesel is a much, much better solvent. Just look at this chart. Researchers mixed castor oil, which is standing in for all that industrial gunk, with both biodiesel and diesel. Now, check out that solution in biodiesel column. It stays perfectly clear, even when it's a 50-50 mix. But the diesel, it gets hazy, then cloudy, and eventually the oil just gives up and separates completely. Biodiesel simply dissolves grime more effectively. It's not even close. And this picture is just wow. It illustrates another huge benefit. These are metal plates left out for 20 days. The one on the left was dipped in diesel. Total rust fest, right? But look at the one on the right. That was dipped in biodiesel. It's remarkably clean. So not only does it clean better, it actually protects the metal from corrosion. And when you look at the properties side by side, it's a total knockout. Biodiesel has a much higher flash point, which makes it way safer to store and use in hot factories. It has practically zero sulfur, making it much cleaner for the environment, and it's non-volatile, unlike diesel, which means it's more stable and just a whole lot less hazardous. Okay, so biodiesel itself is a fantastic industrial solvent, but the story gets even more interesting when we look at what gets left behind when you make the stuff. When you make biodiesel, you're left with this thick, kind of soupy substance called the glycerol phase. For a long, long time, this was just considered industrial waste. As you can see, it's a real mix of things: crude glycerol, other organic matter, methanol, and so on. But as researchers pointed out, figuring out what to do with the so-called waste is incredibly important, both for the planet and for the economy. It's that classic challenge of turning trash into treasure. And they did it. They figured it out. It turns out this byproduct is the secret ingredient in some very, very common products. The process is really fascinating. You can start with something as basic as used cooking oil from a restaurant. You make your biodiesel, and you separate out that glycerol byproduct. Then, through a few clever chemical steps, you process that byproduct into something called an alkyd resin. So what's that? Well, it's the binder, the very substance that holds pigment together to create paint. And it doesn't stop at paint. A purified version of that same byproduct, called bioglycerol, can be used as a non-toxic plasticizer, and that's a key ingredient in the inks used for printing. A plasticizer does exactly what it sounds like. It makes the ink more flexible. This chart shows that as you add more bioglycerol, the ink can be stretched way, way further before it cracks. Now, why does that matter? Think about a bag of chips or any kind of flexible food packaging. You need that ink to bend and stretch right along with the package without flaking off. Bioglycerol makes that possible. So, okay, we've gone from fuel to industrial cleaner to paint and now to ink. But we are still just scratching the surface. The true scale of biodiesel's role in industry is absolutely massive. I'm not just talking about a few clever uses. The official safety and registration documents for the chemical name of biodiesel, which is fatty acid methyl ester, or FAME for short, list an incredible number of approved industrial uses. Let's just run through some of them really quick. It's a key component in coatings, paints, inks, and toners, just like we've seen, but it's also in adhesives, sealants, polishes, and all kinds of wax blends. It's used in heavy industry as a base for lubricants and greases, hydraulic fluids, metalworking fluids, and even heat transfer fluids. All these places where stability and performance are absolutely critical. And finally, it makes its way into products you might be using every single day: washing and cleaning products, leather treatments, textile dyes, and even cosmetics and personal care products. Wild, right? So just think about that. The substance we all associate with powering city buses is also in the paint on your walls, the ink on your food packaging, and maybe even in the products in your bathroom cabinet. It's a fundamental, hidden building block of our modern world. It really makes you think, if something we routinely throw away, like used cooking oil, can be transformed into all of these incredibly valuable materials, it just forces us to ask a bigger question. What other things that we call waste are actually just valuable resources, waiting for us to figure out how to unlock their potential?